I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? What's good? Hope you guys are doing well, doing blessed. Mateusz Gamrot versus Rafael Fiziev is the main event for this UFC fight night. And before we make predictions, we look at my previous bets. Now, the last UFC card wasn't an easy card. I lost half a unit, but I was able to win that half unit back on the contender. Now, September's not been an easy month, but somehow we're still up like a unit. So the goal is to essentially win the remaining events in September, and that would make it a profitable month. Now, guys, the MoneyCity comments. I'm not going to include the Shevchenko and Grasso tickets because if I did that, there would be like 50 comments. As both sides can claim they won the fight. You know, Shevchenko's side can say, look, my comment should feature, and same with Grasso. There'd be a lot of comments. But yeah, for the people that did leave a MoneyCity comment, if it won or didn't win, guys, let's do it again. Let's go. Alright, first matchup on this card, we've got Montserrat Rendon taking on Tamires Vidal. Now guys, Rendon is going to be making her UFC debut, and if we look at her fighting style, she's primarily a boxer. So there's not going to be many kicks, knees, elbows, or anything like that. She's just looking to use her boxing output to outpoint the opponent. Tamires Vidal on the flip side is more of a Muay Thai striker, so there's going to be 8 limbs versus 2 limbs. Muay Thai includes kicks, knees, elbows, and punches. So that's 8 different attacks, whereas boxers are focusing primarily on boxing. So I'm going to say that Tamires Vidal has the striking advantage because she uses more weapons, which essentially means it's going to be more difficult to predict what's coming next, as Ramona Pascal found out with a nasty jump knee to the body. Now if Rendon can just keep a very high boxing output, maybe she can overwhelm Tamires Vidal, but for me personally, I do think Tamires has more weapons, and there's also potential for Tamires Vidal to get Rendon to the mat. So yeah, more weapons and the grappling, so that's the pick for me. It's not a high confidence pick because it is low level women's mixed martial arts. Alright, moving into a matchup between Mizuki taking on Hannh Goldy. Guys, it's fair to say this matchup is a low level women's mixed martial arts matchup. If anyone decides to bet this matchup, please send me a DM, send me a message, and I'm going to provide you with the Gambler's Anonymous number. And to be honest, I might need that number for myself, because something's telling me to just bet against Hannh Goldy. If mixed martial arts fights were determined based on who's got the better biceps, in that case, Hannh Goldy would be a champion. Unfortunately for Hannh Goldy, mixed martial arts fights are not decided based on who's got the better biceps. Now guys, Mizuki hasn't fought since 2020, and if you look at her last fight against Ramos, there was times where she would kind of enter the pocket and her head movement was virtually non-existent. So that's one of her weaknesses, you know, she'll strike into the pocket but not move her head. And Ramos was able to catch her many times, but Hannh Goldy's obviously not Ramos. Now guys, obviously the inactivity of Mizuki is a red flag, and if Hannh Goldy can bring Mizuki to the mat, maybe impose her jiu-jitsu onto Mizuki, that's potentially ways to cause problems for Mizuki. But yeah, in my opinion, Hannh Goldy's not that good, so I am going to side with Mizuki to win this matchup despite the inactivity. Alright, moving into the next matchup, we've got Jake Collier taking on Muhammad Usman. Now this is not low level women's mixed martial arts. Instead, we've got low level heavyweight action, which in my opinion, it can be just as unpredictable as low level women's mixed martial arts. Now as for Jake Collier, what can we say about Jake? His output's good until he gets tired. You know, he'll throw the calf kicks, he'll walk forward, he'll throw his strikes. But halfway through the fight, he'll start to look up at the clock. Now, if Jake Collier does get a takedown, essentially it's like being stuck under a fridge. You know, he's a big lad. Now guys, on the flip side, Muhammad Usman is now 2-0 in the UFC with a nasty stoppage in his UFC debut, and recently defeated Junior Tafa with his grappling. Now guys, personally I'm not going to be betting on this matchup because Usman did get tired against Tafa, but he did still get the takedowns. That may not be the case again. If you expect Usman to sleep Collier, that is possible, but anyone can go to sleep at heavyweight. My prediction is going to be Muhammad Usman, but no bet. Alright, moving into a matchup between Jacob Malkoun taking on Cody Brundage. Now guys, I'm surprised that Cody Brundage is getting another opportunity to fight in the UFC. If you look at Cody Brundage in his last matchup, how do you give him another shot? How do you give him another fight? His cardio appeared to be abysmal against Dumas, and it's not the first time he struggled with poor cardio. However guys, it's fair to say, looking at his last fight, it was a glaring example that you could point to say, look, Cody Brundage has really bad cardio. Now on the flip side, Jacob Malkoun is a strong wrestler. His ability to maintain his wrestling approach round in, round out, it's good. Guys, if Cody Brundage wins this matchup, more than likely it is going to be like a Hail Mary sub. However, I don't think that's going to happen. It seems more logical that Jacob Malkoun will break Cody Brundage with his wrestling, eventually securing a stoppage on the mat, or even a clear decision win for Jacob Malkoun on the scorecards. So yeah, my prediction is going to be Jacob Malkoun. Cody Brundage is not UFC caliber, in my opinion. Alright, moving into a matchup between the Dirty Bird Tim Means versus Andre Fialho. Now guys, this is a matchup where loser leaves town, potentially. It's fair to say that Tim Means is near the end of his career, and given the recent disappointing performances of Andre Fialho, it's also fair to say that he's fighting for his job. Now of course, every fighter that goes to the cage, they want to win. Right, they want to win and they do feel pressure, but every fighter does feel a different type of pressure. A fighter that's lost 2 fights in a row feels more pressure than a fighter that's on a 4-fight win streak. So in my opinion, the added pressure with this matchup, it does make it an interesting matchup. And guys, one of my toxic traits as a long-term UFC gambler, I love betting loser leaves town matchups. I don't know why, but the added pressure on both sides, it makes it fun to bet. Now guys, Tim Means does have more experience than Andre Fialho, but he can't take the same level of damage anymore. And Fialho does get tired, he fatigues, and eventually breaks. But guys, the question is this: can old man Tim Means break Andre Fialho the same way Jake Matthews, Buckley and Muslim Salikov broke Fialho? He absolutely could. However, I'm not going to predict that. I think Andre Fialho's got good boxing, and against someone as old as Tim Means, someone that doesn't have the same reactions, the same speed or durability anymore, I'd have to say Andre Fialho should find a stoppage. You know, they're at different points in their UFC careers. Andre Fialho has been on a bad run, but his boxing's good. And if you look at the people that are breaking Andre Fialho, they're not Tim Means. So yeah, the pick is Andre Fialho, and hopefully he can get his career back on track. Alright, moving into a matchup between Miles Johns taking on Dan Argueta. Now guys, what's fun with this matchup is both of these guys are good wrestlers. Miles Johns can wrestle. Probably not as well as Dan Argueta, but I'm assuming the grappling exchanges will still be fairly competitive. Now Miles Johns is more proven when it comes to striking, and good references for that would be his fight against Anderson dos Santos, where essentially the calf kick was money, eventually leading to a nasty stoppage with the hands. And in his matchup against Kevin Natividad, he actually turned Natividad into a slinky with an uppercut. Super nasty. Dusted. Now guys, Dan Argueta would have got an early stoppage against Ronnie Lawrence if the ref didn't ruin that matchup. And I'm not entirely sure Dan Argueta can impose his wrestling onto Miles Johns. But then there's also a chance that I'm wrong with that, and Dan Argueta just goes in there and teaches Miles Johns everything there is to know about wrestling. For me personally though, I am going to side with the experience, and the experienced fighter is the plus money side. So my prediction is going to be Miles Johns to mainly avoid the mat and essentially deliver more impactful and damaging strikes on the feet. And guys, that's not to say Miles Johns is perfect. He has got his weaknesses, such as he does fatigue. He does look uncomfortable getting hit sometimes. So yeah guys, Miles Johns isn't perfect, but when you're looking at the wrestling of Dan Argueta or the experience of Miles Johns, in my opinion, it's a better risk to reward to take the underdog, the more experienced fighter. And that is going to be Miles Johns. So that's my pick. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. You've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's always been a triple amen, gang. Let's go. Now guys, really simple question in my opinion, and some people will claim it's not a simple question, but I would disagree with that. And the question is, can something come from nothing? And do tell me why you believe it can. And if you're somebody that thinks it cannot, also the same to you, tell me why it cannot. I know we're going to get a mixture of comments, but like I said, if you can just explain why. Or explain why it cannot. Very simple question. Ontologically, mathematically, cosmologically, scientifically, metaphysically, can something come from nothing? So you can give me an example mathematically or scientifically or ontologically. You can use any method you want, but explain to me how it can. And the same thing for those who say it cannot. Just explain how. That's the question on this smoke break. And to be honest guys, the question is mainly for atheists. people that don't believe in God. I want to ask you guys this question specifically, and let me know in the comment section below. Alright, let's go. Alright, moving into a matchup between Jourdain taking on Ricardo, Ramos, and man, this is going to be a very, very competitive matchup. Jourdain demonstrated really good fight IQ in his last matchup against Kron Gracie by just boxing. Kron Gracie wanted to grapple with Jourdain, so Jourdain said, look, I'm not going to give you any opportunities to catch a kick. Typically, Jourdain does kick the opponent, typically it does that, but against Kron Gracie said, look, I'm just going to throw my hands, no kicks, which in my opinion was a smart idea. It showed good fight IQ. Now guys, Jourdain isn't an easy opponent for anyone to compete against, and neither is Ricardo Ramos. Both of these guys are very tricky, and it's going to be a fun fight to watch on the feet. Ricardo Ramos is unorthodox. A lot of things that he does is unorthodox. So like I say, it's going to be a fun matchup to watch on the feet. Guys, I would say that Ricardo Ramos possesses better jiu-jitsu than Jourdain, but I do see mainly a striking matchup. And guys, in a matchup that I think is mainly contested on the feet, I kind of expect Jourdain to slightly get the better of Ricardo Ramos. And that's not to say it's going to be easy for Jourdain, because Ricardo Ramos is good. He's tricky. But yeah, I'm going to slightly lean towards Jourdain to win the matchup. I do favour the traditional attacks more so than the unorthodox attacks of Ricardo Ramos. Alright, moving into a matchup between Bryan Battle taking on AJ Fletcher. And guys, this is essentially grappler versus grappler. Bryan Battle by trade is a grappler, and we can see from AJ Fletcher's past UFC matchups, he does excel in the grappling. It's also fair to say that AJ Fletcher got extremely tired against Lusa, and also experienced fatigue against Matt Semmelsberger. So guys, even if AJ Fletcher starts well in this matchup, I would say continue to watch his cardio. You might find a nice in-play bet on Bryan Battle if AJ starts well but then starts to fatigue. Now looking at Bryan Battle against Rinat Fakhretdinov, he got absolutely ragdolled, dusted, and I'd also say that was expected, but I don't expect AJ Fletcher to replicate that same performance. Now when considering the kickboxing, it's fair to give the advantage to Bryan Battle. His Muay Thai kicks are really good. You look at the head kick that Bryan hit Takashi Sato with, dusted. You also look at the way Bryan Battle dusted Gabe Green. I just think if you look at both of these fighters, one is dangerous and the other one not so much. Guys, I do believe AJ Fletcher is a good grappler, but if he slows down against Bryan Battle, he's probably going to get stopped. So give me Bryan Battle to find a stoppage. Alright guys, moving into a matchup between Marina Rodriguez taking on Michelle Waterson. Now guys, it's fair to say Marina Rodriguez got dusted in her last matchup against Amanda Lemos. My bad, her last matchup was against Verna Jandiroba. So Marina Rodriguez is on a 2-fight losing streak. And obviously Marina Rodriguez would need to break that losing streak this weekend, and she probably will against Michelle Waterson. And guys, one of the main reasons why she probably will end the losing streak against Michelle is because Michelle's old. She's past her prime, and she also can't cause the same type of adversity that both Amanda Lemos and Verna was able to cause. If you look at Verna was able to get Marina to the mat and just hold her on the mat. Will Michelle Waterson be able to do that? Probably not. And also if you look at Amanda Lemos has a lot of power, more than Michelle Waterson. So yeah guys, I do believe Michelle Waterson has to rely on her speed and footwork, but the number one scoring criteria is damage. And it does make a lot of sense to me that Marina Rodriguez would cause more damage than Michelle Waterson, so that has to be my pick. And I think, if Marina doesn't end the losing streak, that's a really bad loss. But yeah, Marina should win this matchup, and that is going to be my pick. Alright, moving into the co-main event, we've got Bryce Mitchell taking on Dan Ige. And guys, let's start by saying both of these guys are black belts in BJJ. So they've got a very good understanding of the ground game. However, I would give the advantage to Bryce Mitchell when it comes to BJJ. Now, if the matchup was to stay striking, that's where I would give the advantage to Dan Ige. His hands are very sharp. They find the target effectively. You see a lot of evidence for that against Damon Jackson, and of course a lot of people will claim, well, Damon Jackson is an absolute doss up, and I wouldn't dispute that. Now guys, Dan Ige is definitely good enough to win this co-main event, and Bryce Mitchell is definitely good enough to find a submission. This co-main event is a very, very good co-main event. And looking at the current betting lines, guys, I've got no option but to side with the underdog, Dan Ige. And guys, the simple reasoning behind that is just I cannot justify Bryce Mitchell at -200, so give me the underdog, Dan Ige. I've not picked many underdogs on this card, and I feel like Dan Ige would be a solid underdog prediction. Bryce Mitchell Mitchell did drop Edson Barboza, but I would make the claim that he dropped Barboza because Barboza was thinking about the grappling. Dan Ige is a better striker than Bryce Mitchell, and I do expect if this matchup stays on the feet, that prediction would probably show. So yeah, give me the underdog, Dan Ige, to win the co-main event. Alright, moving into the main event, we've got Mateusz Gamrot taking on Rafael Fiziev, and man, this main event is sick. Gamrot is one of the best wrestlers at lightweight, and Fiziev is one of the best Muay Thai strikers in the UFC. So we've got two very different styles in the main event. What Gamrot wants to do is different from what Fiziev wants to do. If Gamrot can force Fiziev to fight his fight, then Gamrot's going to look like a great bet. And the same for Fiziev. If Fiziev can force Gamrot into his fight, then Fiziev will look like easy money. But guys, the truth is it's going to be very difficult to be confident on either side because Gamrot wants to wrestle and Fiziev wants to strike. Rafael Fiziev could start well but then be made to wrestle for the next 15 minutes, which could make Fiziev very tired. And guys, Rafael Fiziev is one of my favourite fighters. The only time I've picked against Fiziev was in his UFC debut. After that, I've backed him every single time. The Muay Thai kicks of Fiziev are some of the best Muay Thai kicks in the UFC. I'm going to side with Rafael Fiziev to win this high level main event, but guys, the betting line should be closer, in my opinion. It's a little bit disrespectful to Gamrot considering Gamrot's gone 25 minutes with Arman Tsarukyan, and Fiziev did nearly go 25 minutes with RDA, but 25 minutes with Arman compared to RDA, there's a big difference. So Gamrot is tested. Gamrot is prepared. But yeah, it really is as simple as this. If Gamrot can force Fiziev to wrestle, bring him to the mat, make him grapple. If he can do that, then the plus money is money all day. But obviously if Fiziev can break away from the grappling and get back to the striking, he's got a really good advantage over Gamrot on the feet and he'll look like a good bet. It's two very different styles that make this main event, and the fact both the styles are very different, it's going to make the main event a very good main event. But my prediction is going to be Fiziev. Do I wish the betting line was closer? I do. I really do. I'm not going to be picking against Rafael Fiziev. I do wish the betting line was closer, and if money comes in on Gamrot, I'll probably make a bet on Rafael Fiziev. But as things stand, you know, the value is on Gamrot in my opinion, but the pick is going to be Rafael Fiziev. As always guys, drop down your main event, your co-main event, your MoneyCity plays, all that good stuff. Drop in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.